Welcome to No Gate Fees with Brent Martineau on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 Network.
Oh for 2 on the season when it comes to that. It must be some little glitch in the no gate fee system that we will never fix, and we'll only realize every Wednesday why that happens. But that's odd. Meanwhile, not odd is a Gator win last night here in town, and that'll be part of the conversation on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 Network. Not the Gators and JU, but a little local flavor as we do Action Sports Jacks on campus. One of the things that we have here on No Gate Fees. Episode 2, Brent Martineau along with Jason Hamby. Oh, Covenant. What's the mascot name again?
Warriors, baby.
I thought they were. I almost just did it, and I didn't. But 3-1 on the season.
That's right.
Another win last night. So every week here on the show, we start with the record of the Covenant Warriors.
Uh-oh.
Now, hey, it's okay when it's 3-1. We'll see how it goes as we move forward a little bit. But you're having fun coaching up.
Oh yeah,
the kids.
We had 4 games this week too earlier, and we got one tomorrow night, one Friday. So it's been a lot of fun, and then we got a big matchup against UC next week, which will be the big test. How do we stack up against a team like that?
Yeah, and they're good.
Yeah.
They're good. Coach done a great job out there. They've got a lot of talent out there. I think they're kind of sneaky good in the area. I think people don't talk about them a lot, and then you're like, whoa, that's good. Fun place to play too. Kind of a goofy field, but in a fun way.
I can only imagine that place as it used to be when I played there. And it's obviously completely different now, and we're trying to line up our right fielder according to on the 30. Hey, back up, get to the 25. But I have a lot of memories from
that
the old place.
It's funny that we tried to have different topics on the show, and this show over the years has morphed a little bit from like complaining about youth sports, and it always felt like we were doing that, and that wasn't really the idea. You want to celebrate youth sports, but also like how do we make it better?
Right.
So on occasion, complain about the FHSAA, right? But also say, hey, they did a good job. Only people listen to the complaining part of the FHSAA, though, which is fine. That's just the way it goes. But now we got a bunch of different topics, and not all youth sports topic. Like today, we're going to talk pitching. And I thought I got an interesting topic suggestion from one of the coaches when we put this out. This was actually from Randall and Bryant. Hopefully she doesn't mind, in West Nassau. And one of the questions about softball in the area, and I didn't think about it like this, is why don't we have some of the dominant pitching in the area like other places around the state? So we have good pitching. I think this could come across in a very negative way. There's good pitching. And we're going to visit with a coach that has a couple of good pitchers and maybe makes a run at a state title. But do we have the dominant pitchers that end up at Florida, in Florida State, in places like that? And why would that be? Is that just a cyclical thing or whatever? Because when I first got to town, there was also we didn't produce quarterbacks. And now we do here in Jacksonville. But in 2008, 9, 10, 11, after Tebow, they didn't really produce quarterbacks. And now we produce top-flight quarterbacks, 5 stars, and guys going everywhere. So I don't know exactly why it is. I've got some thoughts. Baseball-wise, though, now we can produce some arms.
Loaded.
And this area is loaded with arms, and it reminds me of, I always reference it as Ty, my son's freshman year at Creekside, where they were seeing arms every night. 92, 93, left side, right side, Ballmeister, the Carlisle kid from Fleming Island, Sully Bracken. It felt like every night. It probably wasn't every night, but it felt like it. So our storylines have kind of morphed. We can go big picture. You could be listening to the show in Oregon and California and other places, which is really the design of the show when we're talking about a youth sports topic. We like those. We will continue to talk about those. In fact, you're always welcome to submit some ideas. But then there are some more localized topics like this one today with the pitching. And why is it as good as it's been? Why is it so good? Or can it be even better, like maybe on the softball side? So we'll talk a little bit about that coming up. One thing I want to get into a little bit, because we now have a season in play. Last week, there was just the kickoff of baseball. It was preseason in softball. We're going to get a lot more games now in a short window. You mentioned 4 games. There are some times that you have 4-game weeks. I think we're going to see a lot more 3-game weeks because of the shrunk schedule and the new playoff format that we discussed last week about the changes with the FHSAA in baseball, where you go best 2 out of 3 in the regionals. So they had to shorten the calendar in that regard and actually start a little bit earlier in baseball. That's why they kicked it off last week. But we've seen some interesting scores already. Like last week, there was a fantastic game if you're on a Baldwin side, not on the Atlantic Coast side. Atlantic Coast was up 8-0. Baldwin, who I think is a sleepy good team that I've been told about too, and this might prove it, they came back in the 6th inning and 7th inning and won that game 9-8. Well, you like this about high school sports, because I had talked to Coach from Atlantic Coast. I was like, oof. I was trying to get some information about his team, and I hit him up the next day. He's like, well, it's been a long night. I was like, I get it. Sorry to do that. I almost didn't text him. But then I said, hey, it'll pay off later on down the road. Well, it might have paid off last night. Yep. Atlantic Coast beat Creekside 4-2. A very nice win for them. First win over the Knights in almost a decade. And that now raises your attention a little bit, because Creekside's in a district that's changed. They're with Sandalwood and Atlantic Coast and Flagler Palm Coast. Well, I think on paper you'd say, okay, Creekside's got the advantage there. Flagler Palm Coast won one a couple years ago, but we'll see where Atlantic Coast and Sandalwood really are. Well, that one gets your attention now as Atlantic Coast wins, and I think certainly will be an interesting factor down the road when we get the district championship season. A couple other scores to pass around that were interesting last night. Trinity Christian, number 1 team in the area. They're probably not going to move off that perch. Number 1 team in the state by many accounts. One of the best teams in the country. Just an unbelievable amount of talent on a roster in high school. Like, we really don't see it a lot, and we are seeing it with Trinity Christian. Well, they did not play last week. They played last night at Beachside, and they no-hit Beachside and won 9-0. Got off to a little bit of a slow start, I guess you would say, and then they turned it on. They're legit. Will they do that to everybody is the question. Where will the hiccups come for Trinity Christian? And how will they handle all of this? We'll find out. But they did get off to a nice start with that win. Clay beat Oakleaf 7-1. Clay's one of those teams that we have them as the best team in the public school rankings in our High Five Power Poll. And Oakleaf is good. Oakleaf was in there as well, and Oakleaf will be fine. But 7-1, nice win by Clay. And they get the McMahon kid, and he pitched a gem last night. It looked like one of the brothers. Which one was it? I get them confused, the younger brother or the older brother, but they've got 2 McMahons. One's going to JU, one's going to or committed to Florida.
Right.
I think this was the Florida commit. He's the younger one.
They got Providence tomorrow, so that'll be a good one.
Oh, they got Providence tomorrow. There we go. So there you go. If you have any games to watch, by the way, let us know some of those. Episcopal beats Christ Church 5-3. Fernandina Beach over Sandalwood 2-1. And then I saw this one, and it was notable to me. Fletcher beat Bishop Kenny 2-1.
Bishop Kenny off to a 0-4 start.
Yeah, that was in 10 innings, by the way. So some of the scores yesterday in baseball. In softball, there were some scores that the one score that I thought was interesting, caught my attention, is Baldwin beat Hilliard. I think it was 8-5. And Baldwin, considered one of the better teams in the area. They have been for a few years now. They got probably the best lineup in the area. But Hilliard gave them a little bit of a run. And it will be interesting to see how they do on the mound at Baldwin. They also lost their shortstop who moved out of town. And so they've had some changes, but they're still pretty stacked. We'll talk about the softball world a little bit later on. So just some of the scores in the area that kind of catch your attention. I'll give you another one. Columbia on Monday. Columbia beat Fort White 2-1. That was on my list. And those are outskirt places for us. But Fort White, always very good, or usually very good. And Columbia, many people think, are very good. I put this, or is very good. I think I put out this one sheet for all the coaches, and we haven't heard back from everybody. So, by the way, send them back. And if you don't have the one sheet, that means I missed you. So make sure you hit me up and we can get it. But one of the things we did is we asked for like a preseason top 5 poll, or who would be the top 5 teams. Always hard to do. And a lot of people put Columbia in that top 5 in softball. So I think Columbia, if I remember last year, I think they had a freshman pitcher that was pretty good. So a team to keep an eye on. And then we'll get some surprises in the area. We'll see what happens with baseball and softball. But I'm going to get to the softball part of this topic when we have Coach on at the bottom of the hour, because I think she'll be able to guide us through this more. Let's get to the baseball side of this. We'll have Coach Barnes in just a minute, too, and he'll be able to talk about it because he's seen a lot of ball around here. Hamby, you're a pitcher. You've seen different, Providence or people you were playing. We've had a lot of guys run through here now. A lot of guys go to the big leagues. A lot of guys go to big-time colleges. Just a lot of arms. Mm-hmm. And this is like the 26 class is a loaded class. I really feel like looking around the area that we have a lot of good arms in the area right now. I have no idea why that is. Do you know why that is? We have a lot of good players in baseball. Is that just part of it? Or is it a cyclical thing? Is there a really good pitching coach here in Jacksonville? Or, what's the deal?
I know. I do think it's a cyclical thing. I think back to 2019, and there was my senior year, and there was a loaded class then. First guy that comes to mind that obviously ended our season was Dylan Simmons. That went off to Florida
FSU,
State.
Yep.
But, you look up and down Jacksonville, we have, just about every SEC school seems like there's somebody committed there, and Florida's got a bunch of them, FSU. So I do think it's a cyclical thing. There's not a magic potion in the water running through this Jacksonville that's aiding the pitchers or anything like that. But I've always thought that pitching had a leg up on hitting in Jacksonville. I think this year's more than ever.
Yeah, well, I would say that pitching has a leg up overall in high school baseball.
Oh, across the board, yes.
Right? Like, you can actually get a guy that, I don't know, I don't want to characterize or mischaracterize anybody. I don't think you need a top flight arm to shut down a high school baseball team. Like, I think you can throw 83. You see a bunch of lefties. Like, one of the big things that I see, and I actually asked college coaches about this, and I don't fully understand the answer yet, but there, without a doubt, you go take Trinity Christian.
I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what Beachside did last night. I think they threw a slow lefty.
Oh, did they?
They started slow.
Well, that's maybe why they slow.
But I'm pretty sure.
But that's always been the answer around here since I've been super involved with the high school stuff.
It's exactly what I asked Murph about last week.
Go throw. Yeah, you did. You're right. Go throw the lefty. Yep. And usually the slower lefty. Like, you're talking 79, 80 miles an hour. We watched St. John's Country Day get beat by that in the state, either regional finals or I think it was the regional finals at St. John's Country Day. They had a lefty just shut him down, and that might have been the best St. John's Country Day team, not the one that won the state last year. And then they got shut down in the playoffs by that slow lefty. And that is usually like a kryptonite. But at the collegiate level, they don't want the slow lefty. You still have to throw like 90-something. In fact, we got a kid in our committed to the uncommitted, left-hand side, 6'3", 88 miles an hour, he's not committed yet. How's that? Those guys aren't growing on trees, right?
No.
But I'm talking about I really wonder, can you get the 83, 84 mile an hour lefty at the collegiate level? Because they're so used to seeing 90 plus now. That's crafty, that can spot it, and at least get you one through the order, right? But in high school, it's the kryptonite. Like, if you've got that, you're in a good spot. A good spot. So it doesn't have to be. So that's why I always think anyway, pitching's ahead of hitting at the high school level. It's hard to get 9 guys in the order like a Trinity has this year or other teams have had to really go put up 6, 7, 8 runs. It's a big field. You've got to have a lot of things go your way. I think there are a lot of, if you look at the good ball games in the area, most of them are going to be right around 4-2, 4-3. Maybe it's a little 5-3 game or something, but it's not usually 8-7. That's just not the way it goes. So, and a lot of that's due to we've had good pitching. You mentioned at the collegiate level. I go to Florida right now. Aiden King, who is pitching. They pitched a couple innings yesterday against JU. They actually have Skylar Sanford, who, if he didn't have Tommy John, probably is a draft pick. Throws 96 and north of that when healthy, but he's redshirting at Florida. And they actually have Colt Myers, if they choose to throw him, also in the low to mid-90s, I think it is, if they choose to pitch him. That's all from the area at Florida.
Right.
So you're right. We've been doing this for a long time. I just do wonder now, like, maybe it's the McMahons. Maybe it's, look at the 1-2 pitch at a 1-2 combo at St. John's Country Day right now with Stropman and Harris. And they might be a little lighter on hitting this year, but 1-2 punch, man, that's a lot of Ks. Mm-hmm. And I think I don't know if all teams are loaded that way. I'll give you another one. Inglewood, Don Petruno, he's a Flagler commit. He struck out 13 last night.
Former committed to uncommitted one.
Former committed to the uncommitted, yes. And they're going to have a guy. The Atlantic Coast kid last night did a great job. I think he's their guy. And they also have another one in the lefty that we'll talk about a little bit later. So we got Coach Barnes on. Well, how about that? He can help us answer this. Let's see how his setup is. By the way, we're getting Coach Barnes on because he's off to a heck of a start. He's a regular here on the show on No Gate Fees, presented by Nimnick Buick GMC, Baker Sports, and Perfect Rack Billiards. And he's going to be our recipient of a $100 gift card from Perfect Rack Billiards, courtesy of Corey Goff and everybody over there. So I don't know who's giving you that, but it ain't coming out of my wallet, Barnes.
Appreciate it, Brent. Appreciate all you do for high school baseball as well.
Yeah, I usually just lean on you guys for everything. Why are you our coach of the week? And, well, you got off to a heck of a start, man. Is it a little bit of a surprising start for you, given the fact that you didn't know exactly what you had coming back?
Yeah, got off to a 3-0 start the first week. Played some really good baseball. Threw a lot of strikes. We only had 4 walks in 3 games. So
wow,
that'll do it.
If we do that, I heard y'all talking about velo. We got 1 velo guy, and then we got 4 guys that just going to throw strikes.
Fill it up. Let's go.
We do that, we got a chance because we're pretty athletic at all our positions. So we keep pounding the zone like that, and we got 3 pitches. We got a chance in high school baseball. That's all we can ask for.
So, hey, listen, you're a guy who got drafted twice out of here as an arm, and I don't know. Like, I got in trouble years ago when I said, like, Bartram Trail, are they the most loaded team we've seen when they had 17 college commits on their same team? 17 college commits. And everybody's like, wow, you had Sandalwood in the early 90s and this in the 80s and Parker here and Parker. I'm like, okay, great. I wasn't around there. I was hardly born then. But I get the angst. Like, different eras produce different things. There's recency bias. We're asking right now, is Trinity one of the most loaded teams that we've ever seen out of this area? I think it's a fair question. But I do ask, like, right now I have a feeling that the arms out of here, Coach, are some of the best we've seen, at least in recent memory. I do go back to that, like, a handful of years ago when you had Carlisle and the Ballmeisters and the Brackens, and I'm missing a bunch of guys on that list. There were a lot of arms each and every night that you'd see. But how good are the arms right now in this area?
And what's crazy, most of them are 26s.
Yes.
There's a lot of 26s that are already committed that are pumping. Like, I don't know if it's the training nowadays, but the velo is definitely up there. Like, the only other our class with me, Hurley, Butler, and the ACD guys was pretty loaded. And you're talking about 2 first-round draft picks, Javi Baez and all them were in there too. But yeah, the pitching and the depth around here, the talent is top notch. I mean, I think we got a couple teams that'll play for state.
Well, yeah, and probably on the strength of their staffs, right? I mean, because the hitting comes and goes.
Yeah, Ellis threw last night. They got Wheeler. They got so much depth at Trinity. They're fun to watch too. That's a good group of kids that is fun to watch and play the game the right way too. So they're getting their height, but they deserve it. They earned it. Like, they're a really good program, and they work really hard. Why do you think the arms are so good right now? I mean, they haven't been bad the last couple of years either, or this 26 class. Why is it so good? Like, baseball's always been good in Jacksonville, but do we have like a pitching coach in the area that's really dominating, figured something out, people really respect? Do we have just the fact that there's so much competition, kids want to play and compete, and it obviously competition breeds better results for everyone? What do you think it is? I think the travel ball around here is really good too. I mean, the depth of you're competing all year round. You know, you're getting better all summer, you're getting better all fall, having to go play in big events. And these kids are really focusing more on baseball. And I don't know if I like that or not, because I prefer kids that play multiple sports. But the competition around here is pushing each other to get better. So the depth is and that's also why you see a lot of transfers. Kids want to go pitch somewhere and get more playing time. But I think the depth around here of travel ball and kids competing is the best it's been in a long time.
Well, you just hit on something too. I mean, you do need depth now, right? With this new format, especially if you make it out of district play, you go to the state tournament, you best of 2 out of 3. But also in the course of the season, you used to be able to have maybe 2 games a week, something like that. Occasionally, you'd get a third, and on that third one, you'd be a little bit light on the pitching staff. You really need the depth now. Shrunken season, more games per week, and definitely in the regionals, it's going to expose some. It's going to expose some stats, and it's also going to be like, hey, if you play somebody on a Tuesday, might have been totally different if you played them on Friday.
I 100% agree, because I'll take you way back to 2004 when it was me versus Davis going to JU. They only had one arm, and we had one arm, and we lost 1-0. But we went 22. We went 22-3. We had depth at First Coast that year, and it sucked. We were done, one and done, because I gave up 1 blue pit. Now we could have played them 2 out of 3. We'd have won the next 2, because he wouldn't have been on the pitch, because their 2 and 3 were very average. So I think it's gonna allow a variety of teams to make runs, just because you got to develop talent over time. You can't just run the same guy out there Tuesday, and make the Final Four.
Yeah. So you like it. You think most people do like it? It's the reason we got here, right? We've been pushing for it for a long time.
Yes, I think they want to change, so for sure.
Hey, more on your team. You got Hunter's brother, which, by the way, it's great to see Hunter playing over there at FSU after a great career at First Coast. When you retire in his jersey, by the way, you're going to have to do that at some point, I think, over there. Maybe it'll go right next to yours.
Hold on, let me tell you a quick story with that. So I had Justin Lawrence first.
Oh, yeah?
People don't know Justin Lawrence was 25 first at First Coast.
I did not know that.
I told he go, and then I got a text from Justin. We're in a little group chat, just the 3 of us. And he goes, well, let's do first one to the major leagues. I was like, funny guy. So that's what I told him. I said, listen, I don't know what we're going to do. Maybe one of you can send me your Rockies jersey, and you can send me your FSU jersey, and we'll do it that way. But nobody's going to be wearing 25. So, but to go on our team this year, Hayden Carnes is 87-90 with a really good slider. His changeup's really good. He's going to be our ace. He's going to carry us. He'll get the big games, I would assume. Then we got a senior, Kalen Daniels, going to be a strike thrower. Then our number 3 is my son, actually. He's 77-80 with 3 pitches for a strike. He actually threw a no-hitter to start the year.
Cool.
With 7 strikeouts. And then hitting-wise, we got some seniors in the middle that are going to grow up and lead us. They had big at-bats against Beachside to propel us over them. It was a good victory for us. One that we weren't expecting. We kind of played out of our shoes. We hit the ball well, had timely hits, and we threw strikes. And that's the main thing. We keep throwing strikes. We can compete with anybody just because we're athletic everywhere. We have athletes. I got a catcher. Catcher came in, sophomore, left-hand hitter. He's going to be a dude. He's only a sophomore, but, yeah, I got lucky and found one of those, so we got a chance.
That's awesome, man. Good, and you do a good job over there, and you keep those guys too, which is always a difficult thing to do in this kind of climate. Sometimes Stephen Barnes with us, head coach at First Coast High School. I don't even think I formally introduced him, but he is the First Coast High School head coach. We're going to get into your story in just a minute, and then we'll let you run. But how much pride is there in Duval versus the St. John's thing? Because, you look on it, and it looks like St. John's programs, depth-wise, are just better in baseball. I think, if you stack them up, you would say that. But Atlantic Coast beats Creekside. You guys beat Beachside. I think Englewood beat Nice early in the season. I mean, that's got to feel good, being able to beat some of those St. John's County teams.
So I think going back to your 2 out of 3, yeah, I think Duval County, I'll speak for me. We could win one game, but the depth at St. John's and Clay County, that's where they're going to catch up with us pitching-wise. Because, I think Atlantic Coast has 2 or 3 dudes that can spin it, and then Inglewood's got 2 dudes that can really go. But after that, if you're playing 2 out of 3 with Creek, obviously, Creekside, they got 9 arms. They can run anybody anytime. Bartram's got plenty of arms. B-side's got plenty of arms. Clay County's loaded. So, I think the thing with our Duval County, we didn't get any playoff teams last year. I think we'll have a couple this year. We got a couple quality teams around here, and I think it helped our districts getting separated a little bit this year. We were in the District of Hell last year. Now this year we caught a break for team. So, yeah, the depth at pitching is definitely the biggest difference, I think, because I mean, they get a lot more kids that go out there, a lot more kids that try out for baseball. Like, yeah, we had the same amount of students, but the amount of kids that go to try out, like, I think that's how the numbers should be based off for districts. I mean, because you're talking, we had 30 and Creekside probably had 80.
Yeah,
you know,
no doubt.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I guess it's just how baseball is.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different reasons. That's probably a topic for a different show, but I've never heard that actually said before. Like how many people try out is maybe like an average of the last 3 years or 5 years. Could that be how you get put into district play? That'd be pretty interesting in a sport like baseball, or maybe there's other things like lacrosse or other sports that aren't football, or maybe football would fall into this. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's something to look into. Even we're a big power football. Guess what? We only have like 65 kids.
Yeah,
we've been district champs and playoffs the last 2 out of 3 years. So we still don't have the hundreds of kids that everybody else has.
Yeah, it's a good point. Hey, before I let you go, how you feeling? Because if folks don't know, I was surprised to learn. I didn't know this right away because he was in a hospital. I mean, do you call it a heart attack, or did you? What are you calling it?
Okay, October 6th, go get checked up on, just like lightheaded and dizzy, and get an EKG, and they're like, "Oh, you've had a heart attack within the last 2 months." So didn't know I had a heart attack. Probably was at a workout and just kept going. Go get my stuff done. They're like, sir, you need open heart surgery. So 2 weeks later, I am under the knife and getting cut open.
Wow.
So as you know, I'm the OC at First Coast as well. So missed the rest of that season. Came back. My first day back was January 3rd. Everything seems to be going on the right path right now. Been going through rehab and all that stuff and staying on pace, changed the whole diet, lost 30 pounds. It's been a full process, but I would say
that's a lot, man. As
a male, make sure you get checked out. I mean, it's not embarrassing. Like, you got to take care of yourself first. Your health is the most important thing. That's one thing I've learned about going through all this.
And a lot of this was kind of family, right? You ended up, if I heard that correctly?
Literally had no chest pain, no symptoms, none of that. Just bad family history.
Yeah. Make sure you get not lesson learned, but good advice. And did you think about not coaching? I mean, you're back on this thing, maybe kind of quick. Like, should you even be out there?
I'm not allowed to do as much as I normally do. I'm not fully, so I'm just doing the pitchers this year. Luckily, I had Coach Moses step up. He came over with me. Then he's took over third base for me. And then Coach Campbell's been there with me since I started. He does all the infield and hits all the fungo and throws all the BP. So, yeah, it's been a change for me. I'm doing all the pitching. So I'll take credit this week since we didn't walk it. We start walking people. I have to blame somebody else. But, yeah, I've been more hands-on with the pitching. Can't do as much. I don't go on the field at all. Can't get hit with a ball, obviously, or anything like that. So as far as I've technically been cleared to do stuff, so just can't do a lot of certain stuff.
Well, we're happy to see you. You're looking good for as good as you can look.
Appreciate you checking up on me. I appreciate the whole baseball family checking up on me. I got lots of texts while I was there. People were in shock, and it was just one of those things I had to fight through. So I appreciate everybody checking up on me and all that good stuff.
Yeah, we're glad to see you doing well. He's one of the best, Stephen Barnes, and he does a lot for baseball in the area, and big advocate for all the kids and teams in the area as a whole, not just First Coast High School. So glad to see you doing well. And he's our winner for the $100 Coach of the Week gift card from Perfect Rack Billiards. So take Smitty out, Coach, because he might need at least some wings after this start. I don't know who the heck scheduled his season.
Well, I think he was counting the victory against the Bucks, but I guess he had to change of plans. You talked him into that, since you said if he goes 3-0, he can make a donation to Barnes. So
got it done.
They'll be okay. That's a bunch of good kids over there. They'll get it right. They got to just take care of the baseball a little bit. They'll be fine.
Yeah, they'll be all right. It's early in the year. You learn a lot early in the season. All right, man. Hey, go. Good luck the rest of the week. I know you're going to Georgia on Friday and Saturday, so keep the good start rolling.
Appreciate it.
All right, that's Stephen Barnes, head coach at First Coast. Guy been drafted twice out of here too. He could play a little bit over there for the Bucks and involved in the football program. That's not the standard, by the way, to be coach of the week. You don't have to have a heart attack, open heart surgery, and then back on the field. All right, that's not going to. Hamby, if your Covenant folks want to win coach of the week, that's not how it has to happen. But
I'd rather pay them. Yeah,
yeah, you'd rather pay for dinner, no doubt. But thanks to Perfect Rack Billiards for doing that new addition to the show. And by the way, because of that, make sure you let us know. All right, there are a lot of coaches in there, a lot of teams. I can't sit here and say with everything else we got going on that we know exactly everything going on in every part. We don't claim to do that, but we try to collect as much information. And we always invite everybody to send ideas for the show, topics that you really would like to talk about. Now, coach nominees. As well for Coach of the Week, baseball and softball. And obviously we want to split that up, probably alternate each and every week is the way we'll most likely do it. And then Committed to the Uncommitted, presented by Nimnick Buick GMC, our scholarship program. And we'll have highlight a young man here today. And we also want baseball and softball players, juniors or seniors that are under-recruited. If you're being recruited wildly, we are proud of you, but you're probably not going to be featured here. So we want participation. Sports at actionnewsjacks.com. You can send any of that. Sports at actionnewsjacks.com. If you want to get involved in that way, keep us up to date. Each and every Wednesday at 2 o'clock, it's No Gate Fees, presented by Nimnick Buick GMC, Baker Sports, and Perfect Rack Billiards. And Hamby, I guess we're getting into this deal where we don't take breaks on this show because we just keep rolling. You say we have Coach in? Oh, yes, we do. So let's talk a little softball right now, and we welcome Kylee Canaday in from Baker County high school softball team. And, Coach, thanks for hanging out with us for a little bit and taking some time as I'm assuming practice might get canceled today with all the rain in the area. I think we might. Did you unmute her, Hamby?
Yeah, we'll relaunch her here in a second.
Okay, we'll get it going. We'll get right back to you, Coach. I think we just got to get your microphone on, and Hamby's good at that, so we will make sure that happens in a moment. So, hey, one of the big topics we weave throughout the show, we just talked with Coach Barnes about baseball and about all the arms in the area and why it is, and there's a lot of different reasons why we have that, but softball-wise, the reason I asked what topics would people like to talk about, and this was one of the topics that came up. It's like, why don't we have dominant arms as many in the softball world? And you got to understand, I'm somewhat new to the softball world in the last handful of years,
right,
and really learning more about it. But it's a good question, and I really think Coach Barnes hit on something that I actually use as one of the reasons why that we don't have the dominant softball arms like other parts of the state have. And one of those reasons is the travel program. We don't really have great travel programs out of Jacksonville. And I wonder if Coach will shed some light on that as well, because now we do have Kylee Canaday, the Baker County High School softball coach. I think we can hear you now, Coach. No practice today?
No, we're going to get some hits in the facility today. Lucky out here, got a little covered facility, so we'll get a little bit going.
I'll tell you what, there's a reason why you guys are good out there in Baker County and Baldwin. You guys got covered facilities to go to. That's not a bad deal.
No, they take very good care of us out here.
Well, I was asking you a little bit about your story, and we know about your team story. Last year, state runner-up and a heartbreaker in 1-0 in that state championship game, and you're loaded again. It looks like we'll talk about those teams, but your story, you're Baker County, you're home, right? And this must be pretty cool to do what you do in your hometown.
Yes, it's a privilege to be back where I played high school ball and to coach Franklin Griffiths, who actually took the team to state, and we won it together back in 2015, is actually my assistant coach now. So he brought me on. He left for a few years. He come back to coach with me. And so to go to state last year with him as my assistant is something that is just unexplainable.
That's awesome. Is he a better head coach or assistant coach?
I'm going to go I'm going to go assistant, but
that is kind of fun though to be able to do that. That 2015 team did it. You know, I'm going to ask you about pitching in the area in this topic as well. But 2024 Baker County, I feel like outside looking in, again, I don't pretend to know everything about softball in the area, but we obviously stay pretty much in tune with it, especially last season. I didn't feel like people were talking about your team had the capability of doing that. I think people were kind of curious. You guys are always good and always competitive, but I don't feel like people were talking like, wow, state championship, Final Four, or state championship game, and the way it all turned out. Did you guys expect that?
So we've told the kids from the beginning, this group we have, they're good. They are good. They have the athleticism, but we don't have that one pitcher or that one player that gets all the attention drawn to us. You know, we went through several D1 commits to get to the state championship, and we don't have that. We've got a lot of good athletic kids that play together, and that's what we believe gets us to where we're going, because we don't base it solely off of one player.
Yeah, in softball, you can be carried by that one player, no doubt about it. But you guys have a bunch, but you do have a nice 1-2 punch out there with Chloe Woods and Riley Walker.
Yes, so I've got Chloe Woods going to Santa Fe, and I got Riley Walker, and both great pitchers, both do it differently. So when you throw one out, you throw the next one out, it's a completely different ball game, a way to catch up to it. And you couldn't ask for a better 1-2. I mean, you give one the ball, and the second one, they take it up next and finish Dylan.
They're going to make your decision look pretty good most of the time, but how hard is that to feel out? When to pull, when to maybe feel fatigue, maybe matchup's not as good. Like I think you could overthink that a little bit, right?
Oh, absolutely. Both of the kids are willing to go, and they're willing to support the other one, and they just have that. But there's definitely a lot of times that we go back and forth on lineups, trying to figure out, talk to the other coaches in the area, what teams have trouble with speed. Chloe's a little faster. Riley's got more spin to her and more pitches to go to. So kind of just bounce it off of the other teams and what we've heard, and just go with what we think is the best.
Kylee Canaday from Baker County. The Wildcats got their season going last night, and actually they didn't really finish that game. There was an injury in the game against Yulee, and you guys, if people don't know this, first of all, best wishes to a couple of the Yulee Hornets young ladies on the softball team. Coach was telling me today they got hit by a foul ball that entered the dugout, and 2 got hit, taken to the hospital. Your understanding is they've been released, so that's good news, but the game was called just, because you guys made that decision. Scary scene there last night.
Yes. It was bottom of the 7th. Kid pulled the inside pitch, and then they have the open dugout, so that's obviously a concern now with softball. And it got her, and just with the scene, kids were very upset. My kids were upset to watch that happen, and they ended up having to call rescue, but they're doing well. Best wishes to the 2 kids at Yulee. They think they're going to make full recovery and be back in the season before too long.
That's good. Good to hear that. Our topic today is pitching. On the baseball side, we're talking how good it is, how deep it is. Unbelievable, really, in this area, how many arms. I think the pitching in softball around here has been pretty good. I mean, we see it up close all the time, and it's like pretty good. But we're talking about dominant pitching, and you just mentioned it. You're not going to ride one person basically the whole way. You have a 1-2 punch, probably the best one in the area, and you do it different ways. We saw dominance in the area. I mean, Sophia Kardatsky and Grace Jones, 2 of the best, most dominant players to come out of here probably in a long time, statewide. And not to diminish where they're playing, because they're playing at really good programs in Division I, USC Upstate and Mercer, but it's not like they're going to Florida, Florida State, Oklahoma. Yes. In baseball, we would produce people around here to go to Florida, Florida State, Oklahoma, Texas, wherever else. What do you think the reason is? Why maybe right now? Is it a cyclical deal? Is it coaching? I kind of think maybe travel program isn't super beefed up. Like, what do you think?
Yeah, I think the travel program has a lot to do with it. In the north area, we're really good for the northern side of the state, but when you go to the south, it's a whole different ball game. I mean, it's like they are amped up, completely different. And I don't know necessarily travel ball, but I'll be honest, I think a lot of the JUCOs, they're just, the NIL not necessarily so big in softball, but I think it affects college altogether. The 6 years they get now, don't have as many high school kids that are just that kid that are going to walk into a program like Florida State or Florida and make their presence known.
Yeah, and it's that is harder to do than ever before, right? And that's what they're looking. That's a good point. I mean, that's really what the colleges are looking for. They are looking at different stuff. So where you would develop a kid, like you could take Chloe Woods, for example, that you have, and you would develop because in 2 years you think, hey, maybe you can get 3-4 miles an hour more, or teach her this pitch or that pitch, get her in the weight room. You're not really doing that as a Power 5 anymore. Now you're like, okay, let the JUCOs do that, and we'll catch you in 2 or 3 years.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's actually a really good I mean, that is happening in all sports. I think it's a fair question. Are we losing the development of players because of that? It's very transactional now, especially at the higher levels of college athletics. All right, how much pressure's on this squad of yours to try to do it again? I know you guys are pushing out unfinished business, and certainly you feel that way. You only lost 2 seniors, so can you do it again?
Oh, we can do it again. If you ask these kids about pressure, there's no pressure. They're out here just playing ball still as the same group. They ask the coaches. Now the coaches feel a little bit different pressure to get back there and how hard it is to get where we were. But these kids come out and work, and I've got returning all except I lost my second baseman, senior second baseman, and my senior DP last year. But I'm returning 4 seniors, and 3 of them are committed. Karis Richardson, my first baseman, is another big hitter for me that's committed to FGC. And then my junior class is loaded with kids all over the board that are they're looking to find a home. So.
Well, that's always nice to have, and that's an experienced junior class based off last year, right? And that's probably why some people thought you guys arrived a little early in that sense. I mean, it's a pretty incredible run when you only had a few juniors and a couple of seniors on that team from last year. And then Bailey Shields, obviously a very good player, daughter of Jennifer Shields at Baldwin. Do you have another one? Did I see another one in the lineup? Is that hers too, Peyton?
Little sister Peyton Shields on the team also.
Wow, is she going to come? She this is like wild in today's world or not today's world, but for the last couple of decades, it's daddy ball, or if you want to call it mommy ball. She's like the opposite. She's like, get my kids out of here to somebody else.
Yeah, they're Baker County kids. They say they wouldn't go to school anywhere else, and they're great kids, and they've been coached up well by Jennifer. You can tell they're
Absolutely. She's one of the best in the area, and Baldwin is. And there are good teams in the area once again. One last note, you're wearing that red for Baker County, but also because you're a Georgia Bulldog. So Hamby,
let's go.
He likes that. He's a big Georgia Bulldog guy.
Me too. Go Dogs.
Just tell your pitchers not to imitate what the Georgia's pitcher did last night before striking it out.
Sticking the tongue out on the called strike 3.
You saw it. I like it. Hey, one last thing, because I got into this and never finished my statement at the top of the show. Somebody had mentioned, you mentioned UC, Hamby. That's right, the field. And so I said, maybe we should do a show where some of the best places to play are in the area. Both baseball and softball would be kind of a fun one. Well, you guys have one. That's a good atmosphere out there in Baker County, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It's a big deal, especially on a Friday night game. If you get a good opponent, West Nassau is always great when we play ball when we bring them. And they line the outfield fence, and they got the hamburgers and hot dogs cooking, and everybody from the county comes out.
That's always good stuff. Hey, Coach, thanks for taking a few minutes with us. Good luck this early part of the season, and we'll be talking to you soon enough, I'm sure.
All right, thanks for having me. Go Cats.
That is Kylee Canaday, the Baker County High School softball coach, and they were a runner-up in the state championship game last year. They bring just about everybody back, and they do it again, led by Chloe Woods and Riley Walker on the mound for Baker County. And once again, thoughts with everybody at Yulee. That's interesting. I did not know, and Coach just said it and referenced it, and maybe you've heard about this. I don't know if it's a baseball thing too, but it sounded like she said there's been actually a lot of discussion about the open dugout.
Oh, Brent.
Type of deal in softball. Is that a baseball thing too? Well, that's just something I don't really look at.
I just know that I got 2 warnings last night for my kids being in the opening part of the dugout.
Kylee gets that like all the time, and she actually got hit, and coaches in college, and coach is like, "What the hell are you doing there?" Right? And it's a good thing to say, but like that little part of the gate open. Is that it? Is that what she's referring to there? Just that little bit?
I don't know specific to their field, but
Yeah.
that's all that we had last night. We, a couple feet wide, and everything else is, caged up. But we had kids there, and I got a warning. Head coach got a warning.
Yeah, so you're talking about it from a chirpy standpoint.
No, they were just standing there.
Oh, just standing there.
Umpire was,
So they're trying to protect the safety of the game, the
Yeah.
safety of the kids and everybody.
Mhm.
Okay, I get it. Listen, I didn't know that actually there's a lot of common sense here, right? That uniformly you should just be able to, you got to have it covered.
Mhm.
And especially, think about, I would say especially in baseball, but sometimes there's a lot of distance in baseball. Now each field's different. Well, sometimes a lot of distance. Now that ball can rocket off there with grown men. It's junior and seniors basically.
Mm-hmm.
But in softball, usually every one you are right there.
Mm-hmm.
It is right on it. So whether it's and if somebody is throwing really hard, foul ball the other way, that can happen. So I did not know that was an issue or a story, and that might be an age-old issue and story that I just hadn't heard a lot about. But I guess it does make some sense. So, again, best wishes to the young ladies at Yulee. And that game was called a no contest, 0-0. I don't know what Coach didn't say what the score was at the time because it was into the 7th inning. So we'll see. Fran Delaney's, listen, easy with you. I'm not ribbing the umpires. I was just complimenting the umpires, Fran, for keeping the safety of the game. Oh, Hamby, throw him out. I must have throw his butt out, but I was like, that's a high school show. We probably shouldn't say that.
Probably not.
Yeah, they don't say that at every high school. I mean, come on. All right. What do we want to do? You want to do our high five power polls?
Let's do it. Let's start with softball.
Let's start with softball because we didn't do one last week. So this was the opening week of softball. And I got to be honest with you. We're guessing. A little bit of guessing early in the season. That's the fun of it. Wait until you see our public school poll. I bet people will be like, what are you talking about, Brent? But in softball, we do combination. Private school, public school. We don't feel like there's as much separation. In fact, some of the best schools are in the public schools. Baker County, we got them number 1. I think Baldwin and Middleburg, right there. I do think there's some separation between the other two, but a lot of the data that I got from coaches that sent their one sheets back to me had Columbia very high. I'd also say Creekside was pretty high on this list, so they were right in the mix in terms of, I'm not going to count the votes and tell you the votes, but we kind of did that, gauged it off what the feedback from the coaches was. And it's going to be pretty wide open. You get a lot of Oakleafs, we'll see, with Charlie Maddox on the mound. You got some UCs still, even though they lost Sophia Kardatsky. Episcopal right in the mix. They've got some really good players. I think everybody's kind of looking at what they're going to do on the mound. So we'll see. And we'll, over the next couple of weeks, be able to figure this out a little bit more. So that's our high five power poll with softball in Baker County, Baldwin, Middleburg, legit. Probably, the three, I think, everybody would say the 3 best teams in the area, I think. Now, I will say this about it. I'm not sure there's a dominant team in the area. Trinity on the boys' side, they're going to be hard to beat. You're going to have to really have everything go right. Now, these teams might be hard to beat, but I don't think it's impossible to beat them. They're going to have to bring it every night, and they're going to get everybody's best shot. So I don't think there's that dominant team in the area in softball. All right, what else we got? Let's go to the baseball side of things. Private school didn't change for me. But maybe, I guess I could have changed Providence out. But
you put in?
I don't know. Maybe you're just shoving somebody like a UC.
Yeah.
Maybe.
UC's on the border.
I think it was going to be interesting to see where Bowles is off to a nice start, quietly off to a nice start. Bishop Snyder's really good, and I don't think people know that.
It seemed like St. Joe's could creep up here.
Yeah, St. Joe's be an interesting one to see if they get in the mix. That would be new, and Hurley does a great job down there. And St. John's Country Day is really good on the mound. I think it's all about the bats for them. They're probably going to get tired of me saying that. They're probably, if I know Lucas well enough, he'll be recording this until it'd be like, Brent doesn't think you can hit.
By the way, Lucas on up and coming episode of After the Game.
Yes, he is. After the Game with Josh Baker and Baker Sports. We'll tell you when that's coming out. Mike Boswell will be on next week's edition, which runs on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and then some other times on our Action Sports Shacks 24/7 network. And if you've missed some of it, we've had softball coach Randall and Brian on before. from West Nassau and other sports. You can see it on YouTube on our playlist. It's called After the Game, and I think it's one of the great shows we do, and I don't have anything to do with it. That's probably why I think so. Josh does a great job hosting those shows. We've had Kevin Sullivan co-host as well, and it's really interesting to see the backgrounds of these coaches, and maybe Coach Kennedy will be a good one from Baker County and all the what she's done over the last couple of decades out there to get on sometime on that show as well. All right, our public school one, Clay, who lost, by the way, to Lincoln, who I hear is loaded, and they lost in 9 innings. Tokoi Creek, a lot of nods for Tokoi Creek. We're going to see it. Coach did a great job with that group last year, and they're mostly all back, and they feel good about it. Bartram Trail, I slid up. Creekside lost at Atlantic Coast last night, so I changed this one. And then I throw Baldwin and Inglewood in the mix. I'm telling you, these two teams are going to be able to beat people. Like Barnes said, now if you do a best 2 out of 3, we'll see. But Inglewood beat Nice. Baldwin beat Atlantic Coast, who just beat Creekside. And Baldwin, I've been hearing about them anyway. I'm interested to watch the next few weeks on Baldwin. Maybe go catch a game. Maybe do a little quick pitch on Baldwin, because I hear they're pretty good. I don't know what that looks like. I'm not as familiar because I'm just not. Don't catch a ton of those games over the last few years. But we know Inglewood was pretty good last year too. And Petruno had an amazing year. As you mentioned, former committed to the uncommitted. So a lot of teams you could throw in the mix here, no doubt. And we will. The one nice thing about the public school, I think this public school baseball has a chance to change week in, week out. I think private school is going to look pretty similar, and I think softball at the top might look pretty similar. There are schools we'll throw in there, and I think we'll mix it up. But I think this public school one really will change. And again, we're only like 3 games into the season, so we'll see how it goes in the next couple of weeks. All right, let's get to committed to the uncommitted. How about it? If you have that. And this is our scholarship program presented by Nimnick Buick GMC, and we always appreciate Nimnick Buick GMC. You should go check them out at nimnickbuickgmc.com or right off Phillips Highway. That's where we get our vehicles. 6 of them in the Martineau household. You can too. GMC, we are professional grade, and they've been a big supporter of this program that we started years ago. Football, baseball, softball. Again, send us nominees on kids, juniors, and seniors in baseball and softball under-recruited. And we want to be able to showcase these kids and get them in front of coaches and colleges, and we know that's harder than ever. That's basically the whole root of this program. And this is what I get from Coach at Atlantic Coast, Wade Serber. He's a 6'3" lefty, man.
How hard does he throw?
Throws 88 with a good curve.
Sign him.
So here's what I got from he threw 4 no-hit innings against Baldwin. When they got off to that good start last week. Had 6 Ks. He's only pulled because of pitch count, which good job, coach. Got to take care of the arms early. He led the 2024 team in extra base hits and RBIs, but I'm looking that he's probably going to be looked at as a pitcher. Limited mound time as a junior, hurt his recruiting, but it's hard for me to believe nobody's on him now, says coach. Has a few bites, but certainly projects higher than those bites are coming in at the moment. So take a look at Wade Serber, Atlantic Coast High School, a 6'3" lefty. Stop the conversation.
Yeah, which means there's a lot more in there, even if it's in there.
88 right now.
He had limited time last year. More innings. More weight room. Yeah, there's more in there.
I mean, again, and it sounds like he had 4 no-hit innings. So, like, what I always ask the question, if I'm being completely honest, can he throw it over the plate?
Yep.
Right? Can he control it? Well, he obviously can. So, and it's tough to hit when it gets over that plate. So Wade Serber committed to the uncommitted for week 2 of no gate fees. And we'll keep an eye on this young man, and you should too. College coaches in the area. Looks like a potential good prospect to pick up. All right, well, let's continue the on-campus theme, and we go to Action Sports Jax on campus. We have a ton of different segments in this year's show. The only thing we don't have in this year's show are commercial breaks. This is 2 for 2. Okay.
I want a heater back here.
Listen, it's a good thing. I just mentioned Nimnick Buick GMC a lot. I mentioned Perfect Rack Billiards a lot, and you see their logo up there as well. And then we mentioned Baker Sports a lot. So we're going to continue to do that. And hey, when we need a commercial at times, we'll go commercial. Either that, or we're going to go to a 2-hour show.
Oh,
we're not doing that.
No.
I don't want to do a 2-hour show. I like when the show moves fast and we feel like we could have done another hour.
Yeah.
So hopefully that's the case. But we added this because I just think it's cool to keep up with the kids. Like we're doing that now. I mean, our kids are in college, and so we know a lot of the kids in college. But we've done this. This goes all the way back to my Albany days, 20 years ago. We used to do this. It's called Section 2 on campus, and it's cool. You can keep up with everybody. Last week we did 2 softballers from the area, Morgan Beckham and Sophia Kardatsky, who played against each other in college on the mound, Bowling Green against USC Upstate. I mean, that's really awesome stuff. Well, last night we had another great example of it. We had JU and Florida play, and look at the box score here. Clayton Hodges on the right-hand side, I'll go JU, from which makes sense, they have locals, from Episcopal. Blake DeLamalure, he's from Bartram. Jonah Shields played some Bartram, then moved out west with his family, now is back at JU. And then on the pitching front, Logan Hartman, Bartram Trail. Garrett Corbett, good to see him healthy. And Bishop Kenny guy. He got some work yesterday against Florida, which also is great to be able to do that. They've got other locals on their roster as well, but they all played in that game. And then on the Florida side of things, Justin Nadeau is off to a great start. Had 3 hits the other day, has 3 more hits coming back home to JU as he transferred from the Dolphins to the Gators. And he can flat out hit. And I think Sully's finding that out. When he plugs him in the lineup, he can flat out hit. He's actually playing center field now. Used to be an infielder, but playing in the outfield for Florida. And then Aiden King. He got a couple of innings in, and he's been dynamic for Florida all fall. They really like him. He's going to get work, but he got a couple innings back home in Jacksonville out of Bishop Snyder, of course. So I just think I've always thought that was part is the coolest thing. All these guys that are playing, and Florida State's loaded with them and everybody else. But we don't want just the JU, Florida, UNFs. Wherever the kids are playing, send them in. If you want your kid highlighted a little bit, or a coach that wants their kids highlighted, or we got a good matchup between locals. I mean, we're following a bunch of them, but there are probably a lot more that we don't even know about. So feel free to send those in, and we can give a little shout out to the kids. Hey, Kyle Boylston out of St. John's Country Day. Love that guy. Yep. He's down at FAU. Here's the one that will get me as we get out of here. He went 4 for 5 on Saturday. He got the start, okay? He didn't start the next day. And I'm like, what are we doing?
It's the easiest thing to do in coaching is to keep the hot bat in the lineup.
Now, it was game 2 of the year. And so what I'm talking to Steph about this. I'm like, I don't get this. Now, what happened is, he doesn't start the next day. He goes in as a pinch hitter, gets 2 at-bats, and gets 2 more hits. Well, he did start yesterday, and they beat Miami.
Good.
2-1. FAU did. And what I think happens here, Hamby, is I think the coaches have so much depth and so much competition that they're still letting it play out early in the season.
Right.
So they'll put a guy in. Like Brody DeLamalure, he started opening day for FSU. They've played 3 more games. He hasn't been back in the lineup. I'm like, well, that's weird. What, he got 3 at-bats? That's it? Like, that doesn't make sense to me. Where is he? Is he going back in? Or do they just have that much depth that they have to play guys early, kind of see how it shakes out? I don't know. But I feel like you set your lineup almost like before the season begins for the first 4, 5, 6 games.
Yeah.
And say, hey, we're going to do that. That's maybe was the Boylston thing. I mean, listen, it's worked for FAU. They're 4-0. But I was just like, you go 4 for 5 and you don't get back in the lineup? Like, holy cow. That's unbelievable. All right. Man, I love hanging out on this show. Thanks for hanging out with us. And next week, we'll have some more guests. We'll have a different topic. Remember, Committed to the Uncommitted, Coach of the Week, $100, Perfect Rack Billiards. Then your nominees in. Hope everybody has a good week on the ball field. Probably won't be playing much today. UNF and Florida rained out, by the way, so they'll make that up